This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Rock, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts and Three Counts.
Cover! We got a new world champion!
That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts and Three Counts is the podcast leading to the real deal, baby!
Knockouts and Three Counts starts now.
Ooh, what up? No, it is another Tuesday. It's almost Christmas time, and hell, I almost got my own sleigh full of fucking reindeer, except in my case, it's a fucking motley mix of fucking canines and things. But this is another episode of Knockouts and Three Counts, and like I said in the intro and in the promo and all this stuff, we got quite the guest for you. Since there's not going to be a show on Thursday, you know, now we had to come big for Tuesday. So we got the return of our buddy, one half of your NWA tag team champions, the man, the myth, the legend, Mecha Wolf. How you doing, brother, man?
There you go. Doing great, man. Doing awesome.
There's the proof, motherfuckers.
It's a really heavy belt. It's probably the heaviest belt I've ever won. And we're doing great, man. Doing awesome. Still training really hard. Getting ready for next year. You know, we got a lot of really cool stuff coming up. So just been working really hard, man, and training really hard. So never stop.
I can tell, man. What's up, Alex? We appreciate you. We missed you the last few weeks, brother, man. If you got any questions, throw them out in the comments. Let's talk about that, man. We were talking about that before we went on the air, but the last time you were on this show was right after we met each other over at Pele Pro and bonded over Metallica. But since then, you know, you told us that you were, you were looking for you and your partner, Bestia, say, to get some tag team gold, and lo and behold, motherfuckers got gold. So tell me about you and him on your run as a tag team, man, because you guys have been tearing shit up, both, you know, in Mexico, Puerto Rico, NWA. You guys have been all over the place. So tell me a little bit about what's been cooking since the last time we had you on.
Just like you mentioned, you know, like it was one of those things that we really wanted to start tagging more and work more together. At this point, you know, we've been tagging for about 6 years. You know, we visited different countries like Ireland. You know, went to England. You know, went to Canada, all over Mexico, all over Puerto Rico. You know, all over the States. And it was like one of those things that like somebody needed to take a chance on us. And fortunately, the NWA took that chance, and they gave us that platform that we needed to kind of jump into the next step, to the next level. So I'm really, really grateful and really happy because we worked really, really hard to get to where we're at right now. And, you know, and now that we have the tag team titles, the World Tag Team Championships of the NWA, you know, probably the oldest tag team titles in pro wrestling history, it means so much to us, not only because we won these prestigious belts and this company took a chance on us, but we were the first Puerto Rican and Mexican-born tag team champions to ever hold these titles. So not only did we win these belts together, but we also made history. So it's been nothing but a blessing, you know, and the work doesn't stop there, you know. After you get these belts, now the work really starts. Now we got to prove ourselves with the best tag teams all over the world. We wrestled the Lucha Brothers in Puerto Rico 3 weeks ago. We had a great match. You know, there's a lot of really cool matches that are going to be coming up in 2022. And we close the year as tag team champions, and it feels great, man. It feels really great, and we're blessed and really lucky to be able to do that.
I mean, it's refreshing to know that that's kind of your mentality on it, is that's more of like a foot in the door with your belt that you're wrapped around, instead of being like, I've made it to this level. You're still looking to continue to climb and look forward to what next year brings. It's always refreshing because, like you say, that realistically, that's where you start to get the showcase. That's where you really start to generate your own name and stuff in wrestling. So,
yep.
So that's another thing to talk about. So we mentioned that you guys have got the NWA tag titles. With you obviously being a rock guy, what are your thoughts on working with Billy Corgan, man?
Well, me and Billy, we've known each other since I believe 2010 when he started Resistance Pro in Chicago. And I worked for that company, and I worked for him 10 years ago. So when he purchased the NWA, and I knew that he was the owner, I remember hitting him up right away, and I was like, "Hey Billy, hey man, how you doing?" Like we still follow each other on social media and everything from like years ago, and we started like catching up and everything. And I was like, "Hey man, I would love to like be part of it." And he's like, "Hit up Pat, our agent, and let's see if we can get you in for season 2." And Lord and behold, Conan messages us literally like a couple of days after that. And he's like, "Hey, send me this promo package, send me this, send me that, and I'm going to send it to the NWA to get you guys in there." And then the next thing you know, dude, we're like flying on our way to Atlanta to wrestle in our first tapings for the NWA. So it happened all really, really fast, and it was really cool because Billy has been nothing but great to me ever since I met him in Chicago. He always took care of me when I wrestled for Resistance. He was really good to me. He always had like ideas for me. And like now that I'm, over 10 years older, this is 10 years ago, and he's a completely different person, but it's like that same core group that he had in Chicago, he brought into the NWA. Like there's Marche Rocket, Robert King, the referee, Staria, the lady that does the entrance music for the wrestlers, Jay Bradley, Scion, like the mass wrestler. There's a lot of people that were in Resistance Pro that are now in the NWA. So it's really cool how Billy stayed true and loyal to that core group that he had in Chicago. And it's really cool to see, all of us backstage 10 years older, 10 years later, and it all comes like full circle. So it's really cool. Billy's always been great to me. I don't see him as like this huge rock star because he's so down to earth and such a cool guy. But then in the other hand, you're like, holy crap, this is freaking Billy Corgan from Smashing Pumpkins. Like he's made a lot of money, playing music, and it's really cool to know. And it's also really cool to see how much he's evolved mentally as a booker and as a writer. And from being in Chicago and Resistance Pro to fast forward now to the NWA 2021 and going into 2022, it feels really cool to see the growth that he has as not only as an owner of a company, but also as somebody that really cares to bring this to the next level. And he does that without, like you don't see selfishness in him. You don't see a guy that's dictating. You see a leader that's leading us to where we want to go. So, yeah, I have nothing but great things to say about Billy. He's been nothing but great to me and my partner, and hopefully we will keep this business relationship going for many more years.
Well, and that's another thing to talk about too. Shout out to Billy Corgan if you ever hear this, man. The door is wide open. But I mean, look here, bro. I got no problem shooting my shot. Speaking of Marche Rocket, he saw our promo earlier a couple days ago and followed us. So who knows? Maybe he'll be next on the show. But
yeah, Marche's a great guy, man. I love.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, Marche's a great guy, man. Like we used to work all over Chicago, so it was so funny. Like when I had my first pay-per-view match in the NWA, I see him and I'm like, dude, you couldn't get away from me in Chicago, and 10 years later, you can't even get away from me here. It's so funny. We wrestled so many times. It's so funny how life works like that, and it all goes, full circle. So, shout out to Billy, shout out to Marche. Hope they're doing good.
Dude, you're not kidding at all. Go ahead.
I know you kind of talked through like the getting the call and stuff, but what was the actual like emotions? What was the feeling of like kind of all of this starting to come to fruition? And then once you do get in the organization to work your way up to now the point that you're at, where like you say, you're ending the year on top. Like it doesn't get much better than that, right?
Well, I'm like MJ and Spider-Man. I always expect the worst just so I'm not disappointed, and I have so many doors get shut down on my face. I have so many roadblocks put in front of me throughout the years that, I'm like one of those people that it's almost bulletproof. It's like nothing you can say or do or it's going to hurt me because I've seen so many no's. I've seen so many maybes. I've seen so many cut your hair, grow your beard, shave your beard, gain some weight, get lean, change your gear, change the way you talk, change the way you look. I've seen it all in 20 years in this business, running and going through every single company, major company that's ever assisted except New Japan, because I've stepped in every single one of them except New Japan and AEW. So being able to do this on my terms feels awesome. Um, it's one of those things that if you would have told me, I don't know, 20 years ago, hey, you're gonna be here in 2021 going into 2022, I would have never believed you. And to me, I think was most important about everything is keeping a level head. Because again, winning these titles mean a lot. Winning the Crash Tag Team Championship meant a lot, but that just means that the work just starts all over again. Now you got a target on your back. Now you got everybody judging you because you are the tag champion, so you got to deliver. So it's not only a lot of pressure, it's a lot of pressure that I put on myself and my partner, but I'm getting pressure from the fans, from the office, and from everybody else. So I'm just glad that we are in a place and a company that cares about tag team wrestling too, and they really respect it. So you know, like I said, it's like a blessing, and I couldn't be happier, honestly, man. Like I wouldn't change it for the world.
Well, that brings up a good point with that. So, as we go into 2022, I mean, the wrestling landscape as a whole is about to be a whole hell of a lot different now that Ring of Honor's gone, because that's a whole new crop of people that are out there.
Mhm.
First of all, what are your thoughts on Ring of Honor as a whole? Like, what kind of legacy do you think that they leave? And secondly, for you guys being an NWA, what do you think the landscape's going to look like for NWA with all these new people that are out and on the market? And we're seeing so many guys come in. Alex is in the comments talking about Matt Cardona, who's been everywhere, and he showed up at the NWA Hard Times pay-per-view and stuff. Past guests of this show, Mike Bennett and his partner Matt Taven. I mean, there's been a lot of them that have showed up. So what are your thoughts on Ring of Honor as a whole? And do you think with them closing that it's going to like usher in, either hype up the indies, or do you think it's going to make companies like NWA or MLW? Do you think companies like those are going to be the ones that thrive out of all this?
Those are really good questions. As far as like Ring of Honor, I wrestled them for them in Chicago a couple of times. I actually wrestled Kyle O'Reilly on a dark match years ago, and it was an awesome match. Ring of Honor is a company that I've watched since I started, like growing up into the business. Like that was one of the main companies that I started watching because I wanted to emulate the style, and that was the style that was going to be the style of the future, which is what we see nowadays in the indies. Um, Ring of Honor is, I think it was that company that the professional wrestling needed for it to be what it is today. It'll be completely different. The landscape of professional wrestling would be completely different if we didn't have a Ring of Honor throughout all these years. I think that wrestling is going to be great in 2022. Just like you said, we got Ring of Honor guys that have just been released and they need somewhere to go. Just like there's a lot of WWE guys that have been released and they need somewhere to go. So I think that not only benefits the companies, but it benefits the fan base, and everybody's going to get to see a lot of cool matches that they never thought they were going to see. As far as like Ring of Honor people coming to the NWA, I think it's amazing because this is people that I've been wanting to work for a long time, especially like the OGK, the Briscoes. There's like a lot of people in particular that I've been meaning to wrestle, and I've been wanting to work for a long time. So I'm really excited that now that possibility is there, and we could do it. Last set of tapings, we had a couple of scuffles with OGK. We had a couple of like interviews with OGK, and that will show up soon at the next in the next NWA Power TV shows coming up in the next few weeks, leading up to the next pay-per-view. So hopefully everybody checks that out. Again, I'm just really excited. It's really cool that we got this amazing crop of talent that you don't know where they're going to pop up. But it's cool because you're going to see awesome matches, and it's going to be fresh, and it's going to be different, and it's going to be like that clash of styles. And I can't wait. Honestly, I'm like really excited. I'm really excited also to see what John Gresham's going to do. He's like one of my favorite people to watch recently, and he's one of my friends as well. And I'm excited about what he's going to do in AEW. I'm excited about Lethal in AEW. And I'm excited about all the people that are going to be joining the NWA from Ring of Honor too. So we're ready. We're just, we just want to face the best competition in the world. And I think Ring of Honor had that. So, like I said,
So
the Indies are going
go
to
ahead.
be really, really good.
Dude, so the match that you mentioned on there, number one, I, for one, GCW, we've seen a shit ton of the Briscoes lately. Hell, I would like, for one, to see, Mecha Wolf and Bestia versus the Briscoes, because I feel like that would be not only a hell of a clash of styles, but son of a bitch, that'd be a hell of a fight, too. So, like I said, I definitely, for one, am down on that match getting put together. But you bring up a great point. I mean, just in the legacy of Ring of Honor alone, like if you look at just the list of guys, holy shit, every major company would be nothing without Ring of Honor, like literally. And I know that sounds like a broad statement to say, but if you literally go down the list of all the guys that either made their name in Ring of Honor, went to Ring of Honor when they, had a hiatus from WWE or wherever the hell they were, like there's so many names that went through there that, like, without Ring of Honor, I think wrestling as a whole would be so much different. I mean, there's no other way to put it. There's so many names that you wouldn't know about if there wasn't a Ring of Honor. You're talking about, Gresham, and then we just saw, Bryan Danielson back over there in AEW. Without Ring of Honor, you wouldn't have had Daniel Bryan. You wouldn't have had Bryan Danielson the way you do. You wouldn't have had CM Punk with all this talk about it.
You wouldn't have Tyler Black or Seth Rollins, whatever.
Facts.
You wouldn't have a lot of those guys. Cesaro, like, that's crazy, man.
It's insane to think about that they all came from like that one company. You hear like the legends of companies, like when you hear people talk about ECW or, WCW and all those things, more so ECW because they were the more underground. But when you think about Ring of Honor, man, it's like I said, it's just going to be interesting to see. I hope for their sake, I don't know how I see this whole, what are your thoughts on that whole hiatus? How do you think that that's going to play out?
I honestly, I think it's going to do them good. Also because how can I miss you if you don't go away? I think it's like one of those things that when they do come back, fans are going to be like ready to support the company again. So I think it's good, not only because of that, but everybody that, how do I say it without something weird? Everybody that is somebody or was somebody has work, so I think everybody's going to be okay. I truly believe in my heart that everybody in Ring of Honor is going to be fine, from management, from like the ring crew people. And then when they do come back, it's going to be like one of those things, like you're tugging at people's heartstrings, like, hey, man, like, Ring of Honor's back. So I think it's cool.
So you think when they come back from this hiatus, do you think they're going to still come back under the regular Ring of Honor banner, or do you think it'll be like a rebranding type thing?
I think it'll be Ring of Honor, but I think it's not going to be under the media company that owns
Sinclair
company. So yeah, I think it'll be like just Ring of Honor.
It'll be interesting to see, man, because there's still so many guys.
Yeah.
Even if you think about, somebody that I know you've probably seen a ton of in Texas, like we were just talking about this the other day. It's crazy to think you mentioned Jay Lethal. Jay Lethal's already signed. Gresham is walking around right now and he's got a Ring of Honor world title. Bandito still technically has a Ring of Honor world title. The women's champ was already at the WWE tryout a couple weeks ago. So like, it's just crazy to see where everything's going to line up. But the thing that makes me excited, especially for a company like the one you're in now, like NWA, is NWA has so many people in and out of there that you never know who's going to show up. And then not only if they're with NWA, you're seeing people be able to go to all these different places. And I think now that Ring of Honor is closed, it's going to make for like a company like an MLW who's been starting to make noise, or GCW has made a hell of a name for themselves in the last 2 years because of the pandemic with all the shows they've been putting on. So I feel like all that's going to do is do exactly like what you said and, create a bunch of different matchups, because I also, like you mentioned, Gresham, I heard him say in a recent interview that he wants to go around and still do the Ring of Honor pure style for every time he defends that belt. So that's still keeping that Ring of Honor, that flavor alive, dude. So I'm interested to see it. With NWA, man, like, what are your thoughts on how do you like studio wrestling versus, being out in the live crowds? How do you like, especially now that, I don't know if it's true, you would know better than me, but it looked like at the last pay-per-view, they were only allowed to have like a certain amount of fans in there because of all the COVID stuff. So what are your thoughts on wrestling in a studio setting versus, the big crowds like you're getting with Crash and shit?
Well, it's better than wrestling in front of no people because at least even when we do the studio tapings, we'll have like at least 20 people, 30 people. For the pay-per-view, it kind of sucked because it was completely sold out. So that whole bleacher stand was going to be packed with people. And literally like the day before the show, they're like, yeah, we got new guidelines. You guys have to cut down capacity. So they had to like return like over 90 something tickets for people so they can, come in. So it felt like kind of weird, a little bit like almost like pulling teeth, but luckily like the fan base of the NWA is really loyal and they understand why they're there, especially when they're like a studio crowd. They know when to react, they know, when to cheer, when to boo, blah 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 blah. So at first I was like really nervous. But throughout the pandemic, I did a bunch of shows where like it was like closed door shows where we had no fans, and that to me was the worst. So wrestling, going from that to wrestling in front of 20 fans is not a problem to me. I'm one of those people that I focus more on wrestling, not only for the people that are there in attendance, but for the people that are actually watching at home. Okay, so like when you're watching at home, you don't know how many people are watching on the TV. So I'm wrestling not only for the people, the 20, 30 people are there. I'm focusing us also as well on all the people are going to be watching on television, on Fight TV. So that's what I usually try to keep in mind when I'm in those situations.
So what are some of the goals for 2022, man? We mentioned that everything's going to be kind of wide open, and being at a place like NWA, dude, you've got, from what it seems like, you guys have got the freedom to do pretty much most of what you want. So are there any like notches on the belt that you already got kind of in the crosshairs for 2022? I mean, I think, like I said, it would be dope to see you guys either in like a GCW or, you've already been doing stuff with Crash. I mean, hell, Conan's got them 5150 boys over there in MLW. It'd be dope to see you guys mix it up with them too. I mean, what are some of the what's some of Mecha Wolf's hit list for 2022?
Well, like I said, we just want to keep continuing to prove to everybody that we are the greatest tag team of all time because we hold these belts. That's why I've been saying this since we got them. We are the greatest tag team of all time because we hold those titles. Those titles have more history than every other single title belt in the world put together. Like if you put all the title belts together, they don't have the history that these belts hold. Unfortunately for a lot of people. So we want to prove that we are the best tag team in history by wrestling the best tag teams right now. We already did it with the Lucha Brothers. We're gonna, hopefully wrestle the Briscoes here in Tijuana for the Crash. And we want FTR. We want FTR. Because I think
would be a hell of a match, dude.
That would be like a great match. And I think it's one of those matches that the people need to see and they want to see it. So to me, that again, keep continuing to defend these belts wherever we can, and we want to wrestle the best tag teams in the world, man. Just prove ourselves against the best tag teams in the world because we know we're up there with them, and there's nobody that can say nothing against that because the facts are the facts. We hold these titles. We beat everybody in the NWA. Now we want true competition. The OGK's next. Maybe the Briscoes. Maybe FTR. We already wrestled the Lucha Brothers. Maybe the Young Bucks. That could be the final boss. I don't know. We could do it here in Mexico. We could do it there in AEW. We don't care. NWA doesn't care. They have our backs. So we just want to keep proving that we are the best tag team. That's it.
I'm glad NAW they're allowing you guys to make the transfer because that's one of the best things right now in wrestling, in my opinion, is just the ability.
And sorry to cut you off. We got a really big title defense coming up in Puerto Rico against an AEW tag team, and it'll be announced pretty soon. So
I like it. Well, make sure you let me know when that shit comes out. Make sure you're following those social medias down there in the right-hand corner because I got a habit of clipping things that like to start a lot of shit. I mean, hell, we'd started a fight in Boston, with Terry Sistel. Hell, who knows? Maybe we can start a fight between La Rebellion and them guys from FTR. So like I said, make sure you're following him social medias because, I mean, hey, we're not afraid of a little heat. What were you going to say, Corey?
I was just saying, I think that's one of the best parts of the modern landscape of wrestling is the ability for these athletes to kind of hold titles, represent companies, but still be able to greater represent themselves on the broader landscape. I think it's really like that's what's helping the game the most, especially with, you know, athletes building up their own name, companies building up followings. It's just, it helps everybody across the board. It really seems to.
It's like a wrestling multiverse.
Man, so have you gotten to see Spider-Man yet?
I did. I watched it yesterday. I'm a part of
God damn it. God damn it. Now I don't have to shut the fuck up about it. Let's talk before we get back into wrestling and talk a little bit more wrestling stuff, man. How the hell have you been holding up during pandemic, first of all? And clearly you guys have been busy because, as I mentioned in the promo, you would see that, you know, I saw you guys have got a new single and stuff. So what have you been doing to keep your ass, occupied during this whole pandemic thing? And tell me a little bit about the new music.
Oh, my dog wants to make a special cameo, apparently.
Oh yeah, making a debut.
Dog. Yeah, man, I've been just working really hard, training really hard, training my body, working on my music with my band. We just released a single, I believe, almost 3 weeks ago now, and it's doing really well. I've been just working on my music, training, you know, like just trying to keep myself busy, especially because like here, I live in Tijuana, I live in Mexico, so there's a lot to do here. But I like, you know, when I'm home, I'm home. You know, when I'm not on the road, I like being home. I like writing. I like going to the studio and recording. So right now we're in the process of finishing our first record, our debut album. It's called Proelium. This is like the artwork for it right there, and that's the artwork for the single and stuff. And you know, we should be able to release this hopefully before the summer. You know, it just takes a lot of time because I'm writing everything and I'm also recording everything but the drums. So it's a lot of work. So it's a lot of work, but it's worth it. It's really worth it. And you know, now that I was able to release this new single and I was able to promote it and show it to other people, that, you know, people are digging it. So I'm just happy, man. And I've been just trying to do that, you know, because if now you lose your mind. If you focus on just one thing, you're gonna lose your mind. So you gotta like try to like keep yourself busy and try to like dip your fingers in every sauce that you can. So like, you know, pro wrestling and bodybuilding and music is what keeps me sane, and these two pups. And yeah, everything's, you know, it's awesome, man. Just can't wait to release this album next year. It's just can't wait for people to hear it.
I can totally relate with the needing the outlets. Obviously, the podcast was already an outlet before the pandemic, but the pandemic just made me kind of press into it all the more. Now, as you can see, Knockouts and 3 Count Studio now exists in my house because of the pandemic. So I totally understand that and can relate with that. Well, with the new music, you know, we already talked about working with Billy Corgan. Did you get to show it to Billy, and what did he think?
He knows about it. I just haven't talked to him about it. If he heard it or anything, he did tell me to send it to him. I'm pretty sure he probably seen it everywhere. So I'll probably talk to him when I see him next. I'm like one of those weird people that I don't like talking to musicians about music because that's the last thing they want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So if we do talk about music, I'll let him bring it up. You know, it's just like whenever I go see Glenn at his shows, I talk to him about wrestling. We talk about wrestling, bodybuilding, Chinese therapy, all kinds of other stuff, but music, because, you know, that's the last thing they want to talk about. So yeah, hopefully I'll get some good feedback from him next set of tapings.
It's funny. I've talked to many musicians in my days, and that's a very common theme. It's not necessarily that they don't like talking music. It's like they don't like talking about their own projects and things that they've put out, things that they don't like critiquing themselves or pumping themselves up or going through their own catalog. It's weird.
Yeah, and you're always like downgrading yourself. You're like me before I released this stuff, I was like, oh, it sucks. Like we went to the studio, I made my drummer retrack this song like 50 times. And I'm not a drummer. So like it's like me telling somebody how to cook a great steak, like a famous chef how to like. I don't know what I'm talking about, but like I want it to sound as perfectly as possible, right? So like
Right.
poor Eddie, man, like bless him, like he didn't kill me, but like you work so hard on something, and then after you work really hard on it, you like critique yourself. You're like, oh, this is not good enough. Like I didn't even want to release it because I didn't think it was good enough, and it took convincing from people for me to release it. And it's like the same thing with wrestling. Like I could have a great match, and you can be like, oh, you had a great match. You can be like, oh, you had a great match. The booker could be like, oh, you had a great match. The owner could be like, oh, you had a great match. And I can go home and watch that match like 10, 20 times and pick up 50 things that I did wrong and I could have done better. So I think that speaks to the artists and all of us, wanting to reach perfection, even though it's impossible, but we try it. So. Yeah.
I can completely relate. Like I
Yeah.
said, different set of circumstances, but I mean, oh my God, even just doing the show, like when you get done with it and then you go back and try to do the clips and shit, so you're listening to everything close. So I'm trying to like clip little shit and you're like, wow, what the fuck? What like that?
Yeah, at least with music, you get the chance to re-record, right? Like we're being live like that. There's so many times I've re-listened back and heard myself just mumble fuck some words through, and I'm like, that's exactly what I meant to say. I definitely meant to say it, like just like that. Fucking thumbs up. Like it is the nature of the business, though, right? You put yourself out there to be exposed, and with music especially, it seems to be a lot of musicians prefer to just kind of release and ghost. They want to just wipe their hands free and be that's the project. It is what it is.
Yeah.
On to the next. And
Yeah.
in a way, it's
Like
admirable.
I can't picture Billy sitting in his house listening to, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness over and over. Like I can't picture Glenn Danzig listening to Dancing One over and over. Like they deal with it, they record it, and that's it. They don't. I'm pretty sure they're sick of playing the same songs over and over too. So it's just like one of those things where like being an artist is hard because you don't only have people critiquing you and just pointing these fingers at you, but you're pointing these fingers at yourself as well. And you're the worst critic at yourself. So like, I think that speaks like again to the artists and all of us like just trying to get to be perfect and be the best we can be. And I think that's a good thing, honestly, because when you have a person that's like, oh, everything I do is great, then
If
what
you
does that
can't
do
be
for you?
coachable, you ain't. If you can't be
Yeah,
coachable, you'll
absolutely
never
right.
succeed.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so we got a question for you in the comments, and I feel like you're definitely going to say no, but we're going to ask it anyway. So Alex is coming through in the comments saying, does Mecha Wolf think that Rick Boogs is the best guitar player in wrestling?
Out of all the wrestlers, oh man, I don't know. We would have to do like a shred showdown. Hammerstone is pretty good. I don't know.
Hammerstone plays too?
Hammerstone's a really good guitarist. Elias is a really good guitarist. There's a lot of people that make music in wrestling. You'd be surprised. Alex Shelley plays guitar too. So
Detroit
I wouldn't
Jones,
say
Motor City Machine Gun.
I wouldn't say he's the best guitarist in wrestling because I think we would need to do like a shred off with all the wrestlers that play guitar or have bands.
So here's the question: do you think he could actually, from what if you've seen any of it, do you think, having seen him play, do you think he could keep up with the other stuff?
What other stuff?
So like like if we're talking about playing full songs, whether it's your guys' stuff, Smashing Pumpkins, whatever it might be, I've only seen him play the opening to Shinsuke stuff. So do you think he's really like can play for real, or do you think it's just?
Oh, I've seen him play like full songs on his Instagram, like Cannibal Corpse, like all kinds of stuff. So he's a good guitar player. He's better than me. I'm a below average guitar player. So I mean, I think he's a good guitar player. I'm not gonna knock his guitar player. I think he's a really good guitar player. Is he the best in wrestling? I don't know. We would have to have like a guitar, a shred off. We would need like Hammerstone in there. We would need him. We would need like Elias. I don't know, throw a few more guys in there.
Hell yeah, man. Well, like I said, Alex, no questions are off limits, so keep them coming. But since we're still off the topic, we're, I guess, kind of on the topic of wrestling. But, we talked about what you were doing in the pandemic. So I can't now. I finally got somebody else to talk about this shit with because Corey's lame and isn't going to go see Spider-Man. So now that you've seen Spider-Man, what are your thoughts on Spider-Man? Because I thought it was pretty fucking dope.
I thought it was good. I just have things that I didn't like. Like Ned randomly knowing how to do magic or like do portal circles.
Yep.
It took Doctor Strange so long to learn it, but then they're like, yeah, Ned, like apparently like that ran in Ned's family, so maybe he's related to Wong or something. That was just my theory. He's related to Wong in some sort of weird way. I don't know. Because also Ned in the comics, he's supposed to be like a version of the Hobgoblin too. So I'm thinking that like they'll probably completely forget about the fact that he knows how to do magic, and then like now that he doesn't know Peter Parker, he'll end up becoming his like mortal enemy down the line. In the
That
next
makes sense.
I just hated how they brought in Toby and how they brought in Andrew because it was such a cheap way to do it. Like it kind of killed my pop because it's like, okay, then here comes Toby now, So it's like, I mean, like I love the movie. It was a great movie, but there was like a lot of things about it that I was like, oh man, this is kind of lazy writing. But I'm not a Hollywood. I'm not making billions of dollars producing films in Hollywood, so they're doing something right?
I mean, with the market that they generated on their opening weekend and stuff, breaking all the records that they have, I'm sure they're doing something.
Yeah, and I hated the whole Venom thing. Like, it's like, oh man, you just brought him into the universe, and you brought him so he could just leave his alien symbiote like remains behind, so he could attach to someone else, and then maybe he could attach to like Peter Parker, and then you could do like the Secret Wars comic book of Venom, like whatever story. I don't know. I really wanted to see Venom versus Spider-Man, but they're probably gonna do like one of those like rap boner situations where like our Venom is maybe not Tom Hardy, but he's like another guy, or maybe he is Tom Hardy because like Tom Hardy's Venom is part of the the new universe, the Sony universe, whatever. It's not new, the Sony universe. So like I could talk about this for hours. So
I know. Hell, after they put me on WandaVision, we had like that week-long fucking diatribe between me and you and Gino about WandaVision.
So like the whole Morbius thing, I think Andrew's gonna be Morbius Spider-Man, and then we're gonna get Venom Tom Hardy. It'll be Morbius Venom and Andrew's Venom. I think that's what it's gonna be. So
well, and that was the thing. It was funny. The guy at work I know went and seen it, and I'm like, "So did you stay for both of the end credits?" And he's like, "Wait a minute." I said, "I watched the first one. There was another one," and I'm like, I know. I was like, "What the fuck, man?" Like everybody knows you have to stay after all the fucking credits because you got to make sure that there's not another end scene. So, Alex, feel free to let me know what you think about the end scenes. But I was laughing my ass off because my other buddy, like his eyes just, what the fuck? There was another one. I was like, come on, man. You got to know that you don't leave until all the credits are over.
Yeah.
I used to love like the old Spider-Man movies and stuff. Like you had brought up Tobey Maguire and stuff in his days and stuff like back when I was growing up. I used to love those movies. But nowadays, that's part of the reason why I've had to give up on the superhero movies, especially is because I feel like I would need like all the red line strings pointing from picture to picture to try to keep up with all.
Oh, dude, yeah, you gotta watch.
It's
20-something movies, so you know what's going on, and watch the TV shows and the series too. So there's a lot going on. I love that they brought in Daredevil and that he caught the freaking like brick before Spider-Man did it. That was awesome. Just that little interaction between them was awesome. Yeah, I'm probably gonna watch it again later after this. So Don't get me wrong. I love the movie. There was like things that
you gotta watch it a couple times to get like all the details. Like literally, after I went and saw it the first night, I was like, dude, I have to go see this again because I'm like piecing all this shit together. Because like we talked about before, like I never was the big comic book guy when I was younger, so I didn't get into it till like way later as I got older. And like I said, the last time we saw each other, I got caught in the snowstorm in Texas. So in between the shows that we were at, I literally sat there and watched like the whole season of WandaVision and shit. And then I was just hooked. And I'd already watched a bunch of the movies, so I just went on this fucking endless rabbit hole of watching all kinds of shit. So when I saw that this came out, I was like, yo, I gotta see this. So with that being said, did you get to check out the new Hawkeye series yet?
Yeah, I'm all caught up. I think the new episode comes out tonight, episode 6. So I'll probably watch that later.
That's the next one I got to get with. Devin was telling me I got to make sure I watch Black Widow first, so I know what's going down with it. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, you gotta watch Black Widow, and then yeah, you gotta watch everything, man. You just gotta watch everything.
That really is how I've had it described too. Is you literally have to watch everything to be able to like fully dissect it. You have to literally watch everything, or have some like ancient.
Just like you have to watch Loki right before you have to watch Spider-Man, like all that stuff. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
I agree with Alex. He said, moral of the story is you can't save everyone. So yeah, that means no more Captain Save-A-Ho in 2022. Did I say that? I'm just kidding.
Get canceled.
Hey man, sometimes it be like that, dude. But we talked. This is a good question for you because I know that you don't put up with a lot of shit either, so you'd be a good person to ask about this. So, as many of us know, there was first of all, did you watch the Jake Paul thing the last week?
No, I've been like really behind on fighting. Like I haven't been catching up with anything. Like I'm waiting.
But what are your thoughts on them trying to fight as a whole? Like I know you know about what's going on with Jake Paul and them. They just had his fight and he knocked out Woodley.
Money grab, and he's very freaking smart for doing it. So good for him.
You're not kidding, and that's what people don't understand is it's the money. But
like, I'm not hating on him, like fuck, dude. Like there is no right way to reach success. There is just whatever way you choose to take. You know what I mean? So good for him. He's like one of the first people to do that. So good for him, man. I can't hate on that. Guy's a millionaire. You know what I mean?
Well, you're right.
By no means was I a hater or anything beforehand.
Is he a terrible boxer? That's a whole different ball game. That's a whole different conversation.
Corey, please make your point because I got so much shit to say about it.
Well, I used to deflect so hard about like even bringing up the fights and stuff on the show and stuff. Like I know it was worthwhile, like social points because it's so popular out there and stuff. But like really, it just felt like a gimmick to the fight world that I take so serious. But like, dude went in there and straight up knocked out fucking a multiple-time UFC champion. And granted, it was in a different sport. Granted, it was in boxing, and Tyron looked like shit. You're talking about somebody with night and day more combat experience than somebody like Jake Paul. And for him to go in there and make it look fairly dominant twice, even though this second one especially was a fucking shit show. It was just punch and hug. It's still fucking impressive, man. For him to be able to do what he's done, he's attached himself now to a skyrocket. He's going to end up wherever he ends up. Where that rocket ends up exploding, we'll find out. But he's definitely going to the sky. That's for sure.
I mean, look, dude, the guy's making money just like he said. At the end of the day, call it what you want, call it what you will. The dude's making money. But there's a reason that I brought that up. So, as we all saw, there was the guy in the crowd that tried to punk out Nate Diaz. And it didn't work very well for him because his whole beer ended up all over him. Well, now that it's been revealed that who homie was, not only was this guy an MMA fighter, but he's fought one of our past guests of the show twice, as well as another one of my teammates twice. So I was like, why does this name sound familiar to me? And going through the dirt, and I'm like, motherfucker, I knew that guy. That tells how small the world is that I would know that guy from fights here in Michigan. But the reason I bring that up is you've had your travels all over the place. Obviously, you're in Mexico. You were in Atlanta for NWA, Puerto Rico, and everywhere else. So for you, do you have any funny stories of having a fan trying to talk shit from the crowd, or maybe after a show or something like that, where they try to talk all that tough and, you called their bluff?
Well, one time this guy, we were wrestling in California, and me and Bestia were heels, and we're like, doing our thing with the crowd, like talking smack. and this guy literally like hops the guardrail with a bottle in his hand, and he was like gripping it like in a threatening way, right?
He wasn't
So
coming to come give it to you, that's for sure. He
so
might have been coming to give it to you, but
wasn't coming to give me a hug, you know what I mean? So, dude, I just like reached back and I freaking headbutted him in the freaking nose, dude, and just blood just starts pouring. And like he like tried to call the cops and everything. Then they reviewed the security footage, and they're like, dude, you were gonna like attack him and you hopped the guardrail. So it's like that's kind of like jumping into the freaking cage with the lions. You know what I mean? Like that's why they have signs. Don't get in the cage with the lion because the lion will fuck you up, right? So this guy, I don't know what the hell he was thinking, but he came to me and on a great, he looked like he was ready to like bust my head up with a bottle, and I wasn't gonna let that happen. And also, I was not only defending myself, but I was also defending my partner because I don't know what he could have done to him too. So I was quick to react, and I don't know if I wouldn't have reacted that way, he would have hit me with the bottle. Maybe the accident could have been worse, but sometimes you just gotta let motherfuckers know that we don't play those games.
gotta know what it is, motherfucker. Hop the rail and let's get at it.
Could you have picked a more badass wrestling way than to just turn towards the guy and straight headbutt him in the nose, though?
Oh, dude, I was like, I'm not gonna hurt my hands. You know what I mean? Like, the hardest part of my body is my head, so I'm gonna freaking headbutt you right in the nose, dude.
Hey, man, it gets the fucking job done. It's crazy. Like, in all the years I've been watching wrestling, and obviously I've gone back and watched the shit before my time, the funny thing about it is it's like, look, at what point are people going to realize that if you hop the rail, like, they got every right to beat the shit out of you? Because, I mean, hot damn, like, there's still that video from, like, 96 that's circulating around of Austin getting jumped and Triple H and Hebner beating the shit out of him. And then we just talked about it with Jimmy Smith. We just had Jimmy Smith from Monday Night Raw on with us a couple weeks ago. And we talked about Seth Rollins getting that guy that tackled him at Raw. And I'm like, dude, like, I'm sitting here watching this, and I'm like, dude, you're lucky that the security jumped in. Because, like,
also, people don't realize that, like, we could take a lot of punishment. Like, I've had guys hit me with bottles in the head in bar fights, and I've done nothing. I didn't flinch. I didn't do nothing. And this is not me like blowing smoke up my butt. I'm just saying that wrestlers and fighters, we could take punishment. We're built to take punishment. So you're either gonna like have to shoot us like with a gun or like run us over with a car if you want to get a decent advantage in a fight. But like, there's people in this planet that I will never mess with, and a lot of them
feel that
fighters. You know what I mean? Like the first time I met Josh Barnett in person, we're like at Danzig's after party after he did the Danzig Sings Elvis in Hollywood, right? So we're on top of like the rooftop at the hotel, of the Roosevelt. So we're like at the big suite on top of the Roosevelt of the rooftop, and like here comes Josh Barnett, dude, and I was like, holy crap, this guy's freaking. He's a big boy, and he just looks mean. You know what I mean? He's a sweetheart, but he just looks so mean. And I'm knowledgeable and I know how to fight. I'm like, where do I hit this guy? What can I do to this guy to make him
kick
feel
him in the dick?
Make him feel any sort of pain. So, like, that's just me that I'm knowledgeable. I can't even imagine somebody from the streets trying to take this guy on. He will eat him. He will eat him alive. You know what I mean? Like, he will eat me alive. You know what I mean? So it's like, people don't understand. It's like, dude, like, if you see cauliflower ears, fucking run the other way.
Dude, my God.
I don't know if you guys heard the reports about Chael Sonnen. This was just the other day. I forgot to mention it in our notes, Kyle. But Chael Sonnen reportedly got arrested out in Vegas for defending the honor of his wife and beating the shit out of 5 guys at once. So, and
how long ago was this?
Sonnen, who's in the very much the twilight retirement era of his career, and is just
how long ago was this?
Over the last week or two.
No shit.
The news is just breaking about it, though. Yeah.
I'm not surprised because growing up and fighting like that for so many years, dude, it's insane. Like I laugh all the time because I tell people all the time when it comes to fighters, I was like, look, dude, there's just levels to this shit. It's the same as why I've been like Jesse and I just had this argument the other day because he's like, we were talking about the Jake Paul fight, and he was like, he got in a boxing ring though, didn't he? He's a boxer. I said, just because you fight a boxing fight doesn't make you a boxer, because even though UFC fighters are great, they are not boxers. Like there's levels to this shit. It's the same as my point being, if you go on the street and you want to fight a guy who's trained and knows what they're doing, whether that's somebody in your case, like who's a pro wrestler, or in my case, who's fought before, you don't even got to be the best fighter, but there's a difference between trained and untrained. And I just get a kick out of it because they always talk shit to like the most unassuming guy, and it's always the unassuming guy that beats the shit out of him. Like 9 times out of 10 when you see these stories, that's how they play out. All right, Alex, you wanted us to ask the questions. I said I'm not scared of them. So he wants to know, he says he's not one of the gossiping types, but have you heard any of this stuff with Sammy Guevara and Tay Conti, and do you think fans need to learn just to stay the fuck out of people's business?
I heard about it. I don't care. Sammy's my friend.
Yes.
Again, this is like people's personal business and lives. Like, I don't think
right.
it should be.
And that's my
a matter of discussion for us. You know what I mean? Like everybody, like people break up. Shit happens. You gotta move on.
It's life.
Like,
and why? And not to mention why? Because why? Because you're friends with somebody, does it automatically got to be he was smashing Tay Conti, and that's why they split? Like
he was, and if he was, who's like? No,
why is it your business? Like, I mean, dude, like, why is that your business? Like, hot damn.
Yeah, there's a reason they have.
Oh, no offense to whoever asked the question. I'm just saying, like.
No, I totally respect it. Like I said, I asked it because he threw it in the comments, but I'm in the same boat as you. Like I say, like, I mean, I've always been of that ilk. Like, that's the one thing with the way the internet's gotten and the way you're able to like find out so much shit. Like, dude. Like some shit, just leave it the fuck alone. Like what people do in their personal lives is what you do in your motherfucking personal life.
Yeah, I mean, like I was getting to, there's a reason why they hang those curtains. It's supposed to be once you walk behind it, you're in a totally different world. You're out of not necessarily character, because not a lot of wrestlers are necessarily in character, but you're back to civilian life, you could say, if you were a police officer, whatever the case be. That's the fourth wall right there. You're breaking it. So
I mean, like I said, I'm in the same boat as you. Like I think he was just saying it because he had a laugh about all the fans that were getting in it. But like I said, we've gotten interviewed Sammy twice. Sammy's never been nothing but cool to us too. So
I love that.
Dude, great guy. I feel like that kid, and I've said it, you can go on record, look at my fucking Twitter, look at the Knockouts and 3 Counts Twitter. I've said this for years, dude. Like, AEW might have gotten himself a diamond in the rough on this kid, because I feel like the fact that he's still that young and doing that well, like, that kid's going to be a fucking savage for years to come, dude. So I can't wait to see, what continues to come from Sammy. I mean, the shit that kid pulls out of his hat is something else. But, dude, like I said, we've kept you for about 50 minutes, dude. I appreciate all the time and all that good stuff. It's great to see you again. I mean, we're headed down to Texas for WrestleMania. At least I will be. We'll definitely got to link up, man. Like I said, I know you're going to be down there. We got to link up.
Too, so I'll let you guys know when I have more info.
Hell yeah, bro. Like I said, we'll definitely have to make it happen. I know Devin will be down there with us. Devin's coming back downtown. And like I said, there's no show for us this Thursday, but he'll be back with us next week, where we count down our top moments as far as the wrestling world and as far as the combat sports world. I think that's what you're going to get on Tuesday and Thursday next week. But before we let you get out of here, man, is there anything else that you've got coming up that you want to plug? Anything else you want to talk about? Even if it's Monster Wolf stuff, whatever you want. Platform's yours, brother, man.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you guys for having me one more time. It was a great time. Again, if you guys can, whoever's watching this, check out my band's newest single, Lupin Skin Killer, available on all platforms. Monster Wolf Band on Instagram, Monster Wolf Band on Twitter. Like, subscribe, whatever it is that you guys do nowadays. Let me know your feedback. Thank you.
Hell yeah, hit that like button and subscribe button on this sumbitch so that you don't miss none of the action, man. Hit that motherfucking subscribe button. And until next time and in the in-between
One of the
time,
directions.
yeah, the directions. This direction, that direction, that direction. Hell, maybe next time I won't have to move my head so you can see that dope-ass sign behind me. But that's why you got to hit subscribe to see where it's going to be next week. So until next week and in the in-between time, Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. Peace.